Hey guys, I hope all is well. Thank you for joining me for this Truth Talk episode. In today's episode, I'm joined by my wife Dee.
Hi everybody, I'm so glad to be back.
In today's episode, we will be talking about the satanic serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Let's get right into it. Jeffrey Dahmer is one of the most infamous serial killers to have ever lived. Jeffrey was born May 21st, 1960, and he would pass away November 28th, 1994 in a prison weight room, where he was serving 15 life sentences for his demonic crimes. Jeffrey was convicted of taking the lives of 15 people alongside of much more disturbing things. Jeffrey was known as the cannibal serial killer as he confessed to even eating parts of his victim, the heart to be exact. In recent days, Jeffrey Dahmer has been trending due to the new Netflix show based on Dahmer's life. In the show, Dee noticed something very interesting about Jeffrey Dahmer that not many people seem to talk about. In the Netflix show, they seem to show a scene where Jeffrey Dahmer's grandmother discovers Jeffrey Dahmer's satanic altar. On the altar, we see the pentagram and we also see Baphomet. This altar was obviously used for ritual sacrifices done for Baphomet. In the show, Jeffrey Dahmer called the altar a shrine, which refers to something holy, but we know Baphomet and the devil have nothing holy about them. It's clear that Jeffrey was an open Satanist who was not only doing his crimes for the feeling, but also as a sacrifice. Jeffrey also claimed that he felt he was the devil himself. His attorney was quoted saying, Jeffrey L. Dahmer's bloody pattern of cannibalism led him to feel that he was the devil. He became overwhelmed, caught up in the character of The Exorcism 3. The character was Satan because he was the personification of evil. As you can see, Jeffrey Dahmer thought of himself as Satan, and he even owned a satanic Bible. I've heard about the story of Jeffrey Dahmer many times before, but I've never heard people talking about him being a Satanist, which in my opinion makes perfect sense, especially after you read into the evilness this man was known to have done. I find it interesting that Netflix made sure to include the satanic altar scene just briefly, quick enough for most people to miss it, but to establish that Jeffrey Dahmer had a connection with Satan. We have seen time and time again on this channel, Netflix seems to have a clear as day obsession with the devil. One of my family members recently showed me a movie on Netflix called The Lovebirds, and there is a scene in that movie that briefly shows an Eyes Wide Shut themed party for the elite. In that scene, they even mention the Order of the Golden Dawn, which is an organization made up of 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemasons. It's clear Netflix is a Masonic-ran company that pushes Masonic values, so it's not surprising they would tell the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. Something that I truly found disturbing was how many rappers rapped about Jeffrey Dahmer, comparing themselves to the serial killer. One of those rappers was the diamond-selling rapper Eminem. I already made a full video on Eminem where I showed that he sold his soul and took the oath. So it's not surprising that Eminem would be into Jeffrey Dahmer and compares himself to him, as Jeffrey Dahmer represented the devil. In 3 different songs, Eminem compared himself to Jeffrey. In another song, Dark Horse by Katy Perry, Juicy J raps, "She's a beast, I call her karma. She eats your heart out like Jeffrey Dahmer." It's no coincidence they mentioned Jeffrey Dahmer in this record when the music video for the song was full of Masonic imagery. In my opinion, Jeffrey Dahmer is another representation of Lucifer, and that's why we see so many of these artists bring him up in these songs. What Jeffrey Dahmer did, in my opinion, had to be satanic rituals. The gruesome manner of these crimes, it just reminds me of Aleister Crowley's teachings and how sick were the things that he wrote about. Dee, when you hear about Jeffrey Dahmer, since you're the one that first saw this show and brought it to me, do you see the obsession Hollywood has with Jeffrey Dahmer? Hollywood, the music industry, even America as a whole. That's what bothers me the most. Serial killers should not become famous. Serial killers should not be treated as celebrities. They shouldn't get movies made about them or TV shows made about them. They shouldn't get so much attention. But we see time and time again that they make these serial killers with demonic tendencies as superheroes almost, pushing them to the world. What do you feel, Dee? Do you see that obsession that America has as a whole for these serial killers?
Yes, you can definitely see that America glorifies serial killers and crime. They make profit off of crime documentaries that they make movies out of, shows out of, podcasts out of. Even in the series, the Jeffrey series on Netflix, after he did what he did and he was caught and he's in prison, there was comic books written about him, even Christmas cards. People were illustrating Christmas cards with the things that he had done on the cards. Not only that, you mentioned people glorifying him in songs. Even when you brought up the whole song situation, there's one going around right now on TikTok actually, Cannibal by Kesha. She has lyrics in there where she's mentioning Jeffrey Dahmer. You could pull up the lyrics on the screen if you can. But they go like this. Your little heart goes pitter-patter. I want your liver on a platter. Use your finger to stir my tea. And for dessert, I'll suck your teeth. Be too sweet and you'll be a goner. Yeah, I'll pull a Jeffrey Dahmer. I want to know what in her right mind possessed her to think that that was okay. Not only is she glorifying something that this man did, does she not take in consideration that the people, his victims, were real people that have family and loved ones there? This same woman, when I was younger, I used to listen to her music, watch her music videos, and little did I know the symbolism and stuff that she was actually putting in there. I remember one video specifically. That music video, watching it back now as an adult and knowing the things that I know, is mind-blowing. She literally has upside-down crosses. They're doing dance rituals inside of what's supposed to be a church in front of a pentagram. There's pyramids that keep flashing all over the screen. It's literally pure satanic imagery that they were just pushing out to us, and none of us were picking it up because we were all so young. You know, once you become more aware of these things, once you find the truth, it's easier to see the manipulation that Hollywood is trying to pull over us.
You're so right, and I find it very interesting. The artists that are using this Jeffrey Dahmer reference are the ones that are open satanic. We saw with Eminem. Eminem has multiple songs admitting he sold his soul and that he's a Satan worshiper and all this. And then we see him throwing in Jeffrey Dahmer, keeping the Jeffrey Dahmer name alive because of what Jeffrey Dahmer did, what Jeffrey Dahmer represents. Remember, these people are here to spread evil. They're in bed with Lucifer. They have chosen to serve Lucifer because Lucifer is giving them what they desire, which is be your own God and have your paradise on earth. That's what these people are doing. And we see people like Jeffrey Dahmer, what they represented was pure evil. That pure evil has just been kept alive for years, using these celebrities, using these movies, these documentaries that, in my opinion, just do a really good job at glamorizing the evil. You know, try to humanize this guy. In my opinion, the fact that these artists will reference these lyrics, it just shows what kind of people they are themselves. It proves to me that the world we live in, sadly, is ran by evil. Jeffrey Dahmer should not be considered a celebrity like he is. People were literally idolizing this man because of the evil he did. The whole situation, the fact that Netflix made this, it just proves that Netflix has no problem with pushing this agenda out there. Yeah, you can say they're just trying to show people the story and all this, but there's so much coming from Netflix that's satanic. The fact that they would make this show, in my opinion, it's only done to keep his name alive. It's only done to keep his influence alive because there's still sick people in this world who look up to this evil.
You're definitely right about the Netflix having no reason to push out the satanic imagery and all the gory stuff that they've been pushing out, especially with coming out with this series. And it's funny that you brought that up because if you watch the interview that Evan Peters, he's the person who played Jeffrey Dahmer, in the interview he says, you know, that they weren't trying to glorify any of the stuff that he was doing. They weren't trying to show it from his point of view. They wanted us to feel like we were there. But I don't understand why they had to go so hard to show all the things that he did, the bizarre things that he did, some things that should not have been on TV. On top of this, the person who played him, Evan Peters, talked about how traumatic it was for him to play it, how he had to go to a very, very dark place because seeing all the stuff that Jeffrey did and reading about it, even hearing the interviews that Jeffrey did was really hard, and he had to go into a super dark place and stay there for a long time just to be able to portray Jeffrey Dahmer.
I believe the actors who even play in these movies and these shows are Masonic puppets as well. So in my opinion, Evan Peters himself is probably a Masonic puppet. I wouldn't be surprised. What I do want to say is I found it very strange. Off of all the stories I've heard of Jeffrey and all the documentaries that I've seen and everything that's been shown to me, I don't never see them refer to him being a Satanist. I don't ever see them referring to him having a satanic book or having a satanic altar, which in my opinion is a very important point. But if we go back, it's like the media is always trying to hide that Satan exists or that there's people that worship Satan, because in the UK there was an incident where there was a satanic cult and they also did a bunch of evil things. They were known to do evil things to children for a long period of time. The media just never covered that really. They didn't give that much attention, and this is when the media just chucked it up to satanic panic and all that. But in reality, they were just covering it up because the media knows. The media always does this job at covering the truth up. It's because the Masons run media. And this is why they hid the Jeffrey Dahmer connection to Satan, because they don't want people to know that. They don't want people to link it back to the devil. This was very similar to Jack the Ripper. I did a full video on Jack the Ripper and I linked him back to the Masons. Jack the Ripper himself was a Mason and he used his victims for sacrifice rituals as well. This is the same thing I believe Jeffrey Dahmer did. And we never hear about this when we're told about Jeffrey Dahmer. And that should be the first thing that's said. Jeffrey Dahmer was a satanic serial killer. The obsession that America has with people like Jeffrey Dahmer is because the Masons want the people to be obsessed with them. That's why they push this culture out. That's why they push serial killers and they make all these shows and movies about them.
To further prove your point that media tries to hide the whole satanic angle, they tried to have Jeffrey Dahmer plead insanity, to say that he was crazy, to say that it was a mental illness. And he literally sat there and told them, no, I'm not crazy. It's not a mental illness. He does what he does because he wants to, because something inside him tells him, yeah, that sounds like a good thing to do. It's triggers that he has. But he said himself, he's not crazy. And they wanted him to play the whole, so he could be put in a hospital instead of being locked into prison. To further your point of glamorizing serial killers, when these men get arrested for the things that they do, they begin to get fan clubs, women sending them mail, money, asking to be their wives, falling for people who have taken other people's lives. And it's become such a thing in America for us to be like, oh, wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, and it's sad because if we take a look around, our world is decaying. The way we live, the way people are becoming more and more aggressive as time passes. And the evils that Jeffrey Dahmer did in our world now are played in video games and stuff like that, you know? So it spreads. This evil just continues to spread. And that's exactly what the Masonic Order want. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
Goodbye, everybody. I hope you guys have a great week.
I just wanted to give a special shout out to the Truth Movement members. I truly appreciate every single one of you. If you'd like to further support the channel, join the Truth Movement, or you can join me on Patreon, where I drop exclusive videos monthly. The link would be in the description. Another way you can further support the channel is by checking out the Truthfist store and seeing if you find anything you like. Every purchase you make helps with the funding of Truth Records. The link to the Truthfist store is also in the description. Also, please leave a comment on your thoughts on this video and on any future topics you would like to see me cover on my channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of future videos. If you like this video, please leave a like, as it helps other people find these videos. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram and follow me there. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.